Hey everyone, welcome to Wildlife Inspired. I'm your host, Scott Keys. Today's video is about motivation. Why do we continue to do what we do as wildlife photographers? I'm going to try to figure out my motivation, and I really want to find out yours. And let's get to it right after this. As with most of my Quick Thoughts videos, these are just random thoughts that I have driving in the shower, at work, sitting here editing. And this one stemmed from a post that I had made earlier. And I posted on Instagram. It was a picture of me. I'm very thankful that somebody took this image. I really, really like it, years ago, of me just sitting on a mountain overlooking the entire my home, my valley where I live in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. And it was about isolation and how, for me, photography definitely included this aspect of isolation, kind of this meditative being present in the moment. And it stemmed from just my head. My brain is just constantly going. I'm thinking about everything, sometimes random things. I know I'm not the only one out there like this. To prove that point, I got in the shower today to record videos. And I had a set of videos that I was going to make today, one or two videos. And while I'm in the shower, I switch gears. I start thinking about this isolationism and how important that is to me. And I come up with a whole nother video topic. By the time I leave the shower, get dressed, sit down in front of this computer, I have figured out 6 reasons why I think people continue to do wildlife photography. And I'm gonna try to pare it down. It's really tough for me because I fall into a lot of these categories. The challenge here is, as the audience, can you down in the comments tell me the one reason? What is the primary? So if you're given these percentages, you could do that. You can list these. I'll put it down in the caption or the description, copy and paste it down in the comments. You could put percentages. I've had people do that before. It's 50% this, 20% this, 30% this. But what is the primary motivation for you as a wildlife photographer to continue to do photography? I came up with 6 reasons. I'm going to start listing them on the side, and I'll dig into each one. So some of these concepts could be abstract. I'm going to tell you what my thought is on this. The first one, connection to nature. Are you primarily still doing wildlife photography because of your connection to nature specifically? Number 2, that concept of isolation and meditation. Is wildlife photography for you a way to escape, maybe slow down, maybe to be present? So again, it's not so much just nature, because that's probably a huge component of both it, but it's more about the mindset. It's more about the mental health aspect of this hobby. Is that the most important motivation to you? Number 3, curiosity and learning. Probably applies to newer photographers. For some people, they jump into a new hobby and it's kind of like all consuming, and maybe they move on to another hobby, maybe they don't. But in this case, is it that curiosity, that newness that is still driving you out today? Again, probably for newer photographers, but there might be some people who've been doing this for years and years and years and still just love this learning aspect. So this curiosity and this learning. That's reason number 3. Reason number 4, is it the final image? Is it the photograph itself? Is your motivation to create the best images possible, period? So forget the isolationism, forget the nature. Maybe nature is the medium you've chosen. But if this is your motivation, the motivation is, can I take the greatest image possible? So you might be more of a photography fanatic, or you might just really be an artist. But that's the motivation. Capturing the final image is the goal for you. Number 5, social aspects. Now, this one I think a lot of people overlook. I think there's a stigma with social aspects, and I'm talking about like posting to Instagram, posting to Facebook, meeting friends. So you've got your best friend, and the time you spend together is out in nature together. It's not the nature that's the most important thing. That's the medium. It's the time together. Maybe it's a spouse or a loved one. Maybe it's a community. So there are these hot spots where people get together and photograph, and they kind of, small talk, shop talk. It's like-minded people. So any of those social aspects, is that what continues to do it? I'm going to follow up on these real quick and give you some examples of my personal experience before I get to the last one, which is just fun. And I struggled with this one because I wasn't sure how to word this or how to put it in there. Maybe it's just fun. I think it probably ties back into the newness and the curiosity and the learning. But for whatever reason, is this an emotional thing for you? Does it elicit great feelings? I will tell you, there was a couple more. I almost put ego in here as one. I kind of lump it into social aspects. I don't think anybody was going to choose ego because it's a really tough thing to admit to. I can admit that a small portion of it is probably built on ego, and that's just ego meaning the feel good. I'm good at something. I'm building something. I take pride in my work. It could fall into a lot of these things. So I left ego out of it. I didn't know that anybody would actually choose that, but these are the six. So I'll share my personal experience as you're thinking through this list, and I'll give you some, maybe dial these in. Like, how can you think of this? The first way I want you to think of this is, without one of these, would you still do it? So if there wasn't a connection to nature, if that wasn't important to you, would you still do wildlife photography? So for me, I was like, yeah, maybe. That's a tough one because that's pretty high on my list, is connection to nature. Isolation and meditation is also really high on my list. If I lost that ability to be present and be in the moment, and for whatever reason I had to photograph at zoos, I had to photograph around large groups, that would be a really tough one for me. So it's getting tough because that's high on my list. Curiosity and learning, I think I'm past that stage. I'm still super, super curious. There's still a part of me that loves to learn about intricacies of photography and learn from other people and learn from people who are much smarter and much more educated in photography than I am. So that's where my curiosity is now, but I wouldn't say that's the high on the list. The photograph is really important to me. The finished image, that is way high on my list. That could be number one. And think of it this way. I was trying to think of, like, how do I figure out if that's really important? If I lost the ability to do everything from editing, so my software was gone, the camera was downgraded, so somebody stole my best gear and gave me a beginner kit, I'm still doing the photography. I'm still out there. But what I get on the back of the camera goes right out to social media, goes right out to posts, goes on my website. That represents who I am. Boy, I thought, I don't know if I'd still be in it. Like, I need to feel like the photograph for me is great. So I take a lot of pride in that photograph. And again, it might not be everybody's style. I've talked about this a lot of times. We all have different styles. I take no problem with somebody that says, I don't like that style of photograph, but I want to be proud of it. And I want people to recognize it, that there's a lot of hard work and a lot of effort. So the photograph is probably number one on my list, with some others real close behind it. Social aspects. I will challenge people on this one. We do want to downplay this sometimes. For me, it is not the social community. So it's not meeting other people that's important to me. What is important, and I hate to say this sometimes, is the social media aspects. That's where I get the sense of community. And I will tell you a quick story about this one, and you may relate to this. A couple years ago, it was around this time of year. This is my slowest time of year. Work gets really busy, and I wasn't taking great photos at the time. I hadn't posted anything publicly that I would say is stellar. And I thought, I haven't photographed in a while. I'm off tomorrow. I should go out to produce content. Like, I should try to get a great image. It wasn't intrinsic motivation. It wasn't for the connection with nature. It wasn't for the isolation and meditation. It was, I hate to say this sounds so shallow. It was to please others. Now, I will ask you to challenge yourself with that, if you're honest with yourself, because I absolutely 100% know that there are people out there who say, yes, there are times where I have felt compelled to go do photography, not for me, but for others. Maybe to uphold a reputation, or to meet a quota of posts that I have to make, or just because I haven't done it in a while, or I want to show off something good. So that's a big deal. I don't think people are going to put that high on their list, but I do think that is a big deal. And the last part is just fun. Is it just fun for you? Do you just love to do it? So that's the Quick Thoughts video. This was really a quick Thoughts video. What I want to do is down in the description, I'm going to put these 6 categories. There's also going to be a link to a poll, because I'm kind of curious where that stands. The poll is going to ask you for your primary motivation, that the reason you continue to do it. Down in the comments, you can actually just put down there the copy and paste with the percentages. You could put the top 2, top 3, but I really do. I want you to try to figure out the primary motivation. Without one of these, would you stop doing it? So if it's the connection to nature, if you lost the connection to nature, if that went away, would you stop doing photography? And if that's the case, then that would be your number one motivation for doing it. If you lost your gear and could no longer edit, and your quality was limited in what you could do, the final output was restricted, then it might be the photograph is the most important thing, the final result, the photograph. So I am really curious to find out from you your experiences on this one. I appreciate you tuning into this Quick Thoughts video. There's a playlist down there. So if you like these Quick Thoughts videos, hit that playlist. But I also do different genres. So I do reviews, I do educational things, and I also do some guest interviews. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And if you want to find out when the next video is coming up, you're going to hit that little bell for notifications, and I'll tell you when that next video is. Thanks for tuning in as always, and I hope we can continue to find inspiration in wildlife together.